What's up, everyone? All right, so here we are. We've come to the end of the week, and this week has been unbelievable. I had two of the biggest green days of the entire year on Monday and Tuesday. But then what was really interesting was how things shifted midweek. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, each of these 3 days, I went into the red before recovering back to green. So yesterday I was red, recovered to green thanks to the IPO on Circle. On Wednesday, I was down 10,000, recovered to up 40,000. Today, I went down $4,900, $4,900 before recovering back to green. And the stock that I made the most on was a penny stock that squeezed up 229%. It was really hard today to kind of get in the groove for a couple reasons. Number one, we didn't have a lot of good headlines. That's not surprising for a Friday. It's the end of the week. Companies aren't as inclined to put out good news on a Friday going into the weekend where it might get forgotten. They would love to see multi-day continuation, 3 or 4 days of the stock going higher thanks to a strong news catalyst. So they're better off putting out that news when? On a Monday or Tuesday, beginning of the week. So that's very common. And that's part of why we had such a good start to the week. So when you have a really good start to the week, you can have good continuation if those stocks keep going and you get lucky and get some more headlines. That wasn't really the case this week, and it certainly wasn't the case here today, Friday. So KNW was the stock that I made the most on. This stock went from 50 cents a share to $1.80, straight up. Unbelievable, huge move. So we'll go over that trade in a second, but let's look at a couple of the others for a moment. So Vero, V-E-R-O, traded this one this morning. The problem is, it's a Canadian company. Headline, they're selling their hair business for $20 million. It's not really the sector that I would typically do well on. It sort of just doesn't really make sense to me. I understand why it's going up, but I just wouldn't really expect it to do all that much on that headline, really. It's not going to go up like 500% on that headline. I couldn't imagine. And what makes it worse is that the 200 moving average is right here. So I did trade this, however, and I'm green on it. However, I didn't feel like it was easy to trade. The one place I took a trade, it popped up, pulled back, popped up, pulled back, stair stepping up, and I bought this breakout right here for the squeeze through the high a day. And that I only made $2,000 on it. So it was about $2,153 on it. So this is a very small winner. I was hoping maybe it could squeeze through that 200, and if we could get over it, we'd be in good shape. It wasn't able to do it. So, but the headline wasn't that strong. V-E-E-E, V-E-E-E, yeah. This one, Twin V Power Cats, Bahama Boat, blah, 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 blah. This is the wrong sector as well. This just isn't the sector that we're typically going to do well on. Yes, it did pop up back here early May. But again, we're right under that 200 moving average. That's a problem. So I was like, that's no good. The stock rent popped up right at the 200. It did break through it, but immediately rejected violently. That was really nasty. So that was no good. Let's see, what else did we have? Oh, MODV. This was the stock that I actually took the biggest loss on. This was day 2 continuation. It's actually multi-day continuation and has room up to the 200. Looks good, but just not a strong enough day to make it happen. It just didn't work. So, and then WeBuy, I made some money on this one as well. It's actually halted up right now. It pops up, it drops. It pops up, it drops. It comes back up, it breaks through this level, squeezes up to 850, and then drops again. I didn't take this next leg up because I just was sort of over it. But I got a couple trades on that and made some money. All right, so the grand reveal. How much am I up on the day? $4,540.84. Here's the problem. Well, it's actually not a problem. I went with smaller size today, as per yesterday, right? Yesterday in my recap, I was like, I'm being too aggressive. I've got to kind of pump the brakes, slow it down. So I came in this morning reminding myself with a sticky note right here, boom, slow down, take it easy, no reason to go crazy. It's Friday. You've already had 2 close call days in a row. Take it easy. So on my very first trade, my first trade actually was on WeBuy. First trade of the day was WeBuy, and I jumped in it right here. Was it? No, I can't remember. It was here as it was squeezing up, and I lost $800 on it. $800, not a big deal. small loss, small share size, jumped in, didn't work, jumped right back out. It is what it is. But it sold off hard, and I was like, that's not great. What I liked about it was the potential sort of dead cat bounce on the daily, selling off and then bouncing. So obviously I had the right idea, but I was just a little early, and the market earlier in the morning was a little colder. And then I got back in it right here and made back some of the loss. And then I got back in here and made back the rest of the loss and got myself green. And I'm glad to see it continuing higher because it just shows that I had the right idea. My timing was a little off, but right idea. And we're seeing increasing volume. So that's all great to see. The second trade was MODV. So that gave me then 2 losers in a row. And I jumped in this as it broke 450, breaking the previous day's kind of resistance level here. And it goes straight to 5. I'm like, awesome. And then drops all the way back down to 4. Not awesome. So that was a bummer. And took the $3,400 loss on that. It was $3,700. And that put me red 4,900 on the day. So I was red 5,000 on the day. And from that point, that low point, I said, all right, well, let's start chipping away. And there's 2 ways to do that. One is to take 100,000 shares or huge size on everything that pops up to try to make it all back in one quick trade. And the other way is just to slowly chip away, base hit, base hit, base hit. And that's what I did. Chipped away base hits on KNW. So KNW, this one popped up on the scanners, micro pullback there under $1, didn't trade that, pushes a little bit higher. My first entry was, let's see, we had a little micro pullback right here. But I actually got in right about here, 35. Rode that momentum up to there, sold off, bought the dip, bounces back up, double bottom off of 35, bounces back up, tried another double bottom here, so got little bounces, and then I stopped trading it. Made a little bit of money on that, not a ton. And then Vero, I got the trade here coming back up through the high, so made a little bit on that. OBLG, that one came out with news, jumped on it, didn't really work, got back out, sold some for profit, sold the rest for a loss, only 168. I peaked at 5,500 thanks to WeBuy, but then gave back. I tried to buy this dip right here. And the reason I tried to do that dip was because this was resistance here. So when it was coming back down, I was trying to buy the dip off of that previous resistance, thinking it would be support. It broke. And then it came right back above it, then broke back below it, then back above it, then back to it, and then back. So, very choppy. Just whatever. It is what it is. It was a little bit of a choppy day. And I'm grateful to have recovered from red to green without having to take big size or big risk. Now, yesterday, to recover from red to green, I took big risk on CRCL. Now, I was right on CRCL, but I took too much risk relative to where I was at on the day. Because if that had gone wrong, and IPOs can go wrong, that could have been a really big loss. So like a $20,000, $30,000 loss. So I made 38,000 on it, but I could have easily lost, potentially, I guess 38,000. It's not impossible, certainly. So the risk to reward on that wasn't great, I would say. So yesterday was a close call. Sort of took that as a warning to slow down today. And look, if I'd gotten a cushion on my first trade and been in the driver's seat, I would have sized up because I'd have a cushion. I didn't get the cushion. I went red on the first trade, red on the second trade, and then stayed with smaller size as I recouped my loss and just sort of chipped away until I got myself to green. And I never really got in the driver's seat today. By the time I was up 5,500, it was already 9:25 coming into the open. And I was like, well, we're sort of, I'm within like half an hour of calling it a day. It's Friday and I've got some things I want to do this afternoon. I don't want to sit in front of the computer all day today the way I did Wednesday and Thursday. So that's it for me. That's a wrap. That's the week. I'm grateful. Look, it's a green week. It's a fantastic week. I'm up almost $500,000 this week. I think my best week of all time was like 650,000, something like that. So I'd have to actually double check. Might be higher than that. But in any case, it doesn't matter. It's a pretty darn good week. Sitting at just about 3 million, just under 3 million on the year. Goal for the month of June. It's really tough to say. On the one hand, if the rest of the month is like this, well, 5,000 a day is not bad. It's $1 million a year. but that's going to be, a slower month. If we go back to having big squeezes like we had at the beginning of the week on SBET, or no, it wasn't SBET, it was LYRA and a few others, then $1 million month is in the cards. So the market, it'll be what the market gives us, and I'll trade as aggressively as I can for the opportunities we're given. But, I can only trade what's in front of me, and I got to trade the market I'm in, not the market I want to be in. So I think on Monday and Tuesday, I had such great days. I was really hoping to keep that going and was super aggressive on Wednesday and Thursday, but just didn't really connect. So today, took my foot off the gas, and I'm glad I did, because if I had continued to go heavy today with big size, I'd probably be red due to slippage, right? It's easy to get in 5,000 shares. Getting in and out of 50,000 shares or 100,000 shares is, something like that is not so easy. So you can't just jump in and out for a 1 cent loss with that kind of size. So anyways, that's it for me. Those of you guys who want to study up this weekend, I'm going to put links to a couple episodes here and here that I think you will enjoy. I've got another episode I'm going to be uploading tomorrow, which you should definitely check out. I'm going to be sharing with you some of the things you need to know in order to improve your likelihood of being consistent in the market. All right, so make sure you check out that episode tomorrow. And a reminder, as always, my results aren't typical. Trading is risky, so please take it slow and practice a simulator before putting real money on the line. All right, I'll see you guys for the next upload real soon.